Okay, so this will be video explainer number 1. So I'm just going to open the document from the calendar. I'm not going to go through and just kind of read what's up here for today. I'll focus on this first part for right now. So we have Google Sheets. So all this stuff we're not necessarily going to need, but I do want to try to help you out by showing you how to use the data. So it says table 1 on the next page shows body measurements from 100 medium ground finches living on Daphne Major in 1976. 50 of those birds did not survive the 1977 drought. We're calling those non-survivors, and 50 did. They're being called survivors. These data are also provided in an Excel spreadsheet. Use either the data in Table 1 or in the Excel spreadsheet to construct several graphs as outlined in the following pages. So I'm going to go here, and number 3 right here, this is the data set. So I'm going to click on that. Now for right now, yours is going to be view only. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make a copy of this. So I'm going to go to File. I'm going to make a copy. Might take a little bit of time. Your Chromebook's probably faster than my Mac right now. I'll just put Duncan on there. I'm going to keep it in that folder, and I'm going to hit OK. Now, when you have your own copy, you can do whatever you want, basically, to this spreadsheet now. So that's what I'm going to do. So maybe I want these columns. I want to be able to see everything. So if I double click, it's basically just going to open all this up for me. Okay, okay, and okay. So now I've got all of this data, and it looks like a lot of data. It looks like I've got a lot of stuff. But I'll be able to kind of show you how to use this. So I've got non-survivors and I've got survivors. So if I look at this information, this kind of raw data here, what I want to do is I want to be able to pick out, if I need to, the non-survivors data and the survivors data. So I'm not going to worry about all this stuff that's in here right now. I'm going to go basically down here. So it says table 1. This is all of our data. I'm going to come down to part A. So it says as you complete steps 1 to 3 below, enter your calculations in table 2 for the mean, standard deviation, standard error of the mean, and or your 95% confidence interval is assigned by your instructor. So we want to calculate all of these just to get practice. Okay. So it says the data are presented in 2 groups, birds that did not survive and birds that did survive. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start with the non-survivors first. And we're going to calculate the mean for the body mass. We're going to calculate the standard deviation, standard error of the mean, and the 95% confidence intervals. So we're going to calculate those things. So there are a couple of ways that we can do this. So the first is we can just look at the band numbers. And we can use all of this body mass data. So if I go here, I see it's 912, 276, all the way down to 687. So it's going to be right here. That's 687. Now if I look at the top up here for the survivors, I see it's 309. So that's where the survivor data actually starts. So you can do this if you want. You don't necessarily have to. I'm just going to go ahead and highlight the non-survivor data in a different color, just so I know. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to make this blue. And then I'll put this in bold. So now I have a better idea of where the data is for the non-survivors and the survivors. Okay. So this is body weight, and this starts on band 9. Band 9, there's body mass or body weight, 14.5, 14.5, that's right. Now I want to look and say, I want to do this for non-survivors first, so I'm going to use that data that I just highlighted, and I want to know what the average body mass is. And this is actually really easy if I just use the spreadsheet. So I'm going to go to 90%, and over here I'm going to do mean. And now I can just use a formula. So I'm going to type in equals the average, and I just want to highlight the data that I want. And this is all non-survivors, and I only want the non-survivor data. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to use this. And let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and just do this. Looks like it wants me to put the whole thing. Okay. Google Sheets is a little different than Excel. So I use this this function. So if I type equals the average, and then I highlighted all the data that I want, I get the mean, and so I can put the mean right here. That's my average, or my mean body mass for the non-survivors, 15.71. All right. Now I want to do the standard deviation of that. I can do that as well. It's the same thing, so this time this is going to be the standard deviation. And I can use a function for that too. So if I start typing in and I put ST, I see standard deviation here. I click on that, and now I want the standard deviation of the body mass. Put a parentheses on the end, and I get a value of 1.35. Let me go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. Go ahead and move this over. Actually, I'll delete this column. Okay, there we go. So I've got the average, I've got the standard deviation. So average and standard deviation. Now for standard error of the mean and your 95% confidence intervals, those you're actually going to have to use an equation. So if you don't remember the equation, not a big deal. You just go back to the week 3 assignment. And this gives you the equations for standard error of the mean and your 95% confidence intervals. So if I wanted to figure out what the standard error of the mean is for the non-survivors for body weight, all I would do is I would take the standard deviation, which is this value, and I would divide it by the square root of n, and n is the sample size. So all I have to do is count how many of these there are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. There's 50. So I would take this value and divide it by the square root of 50, which would give me my standard error of the mean. And that's how I would find that. Now you don't have to count everything because it tells you how many non-survivors there were. So it gives you this n value up here. So they're both 50. So 50 non-survivors and 50 survivors. So you could just use that as well. All right. Now, 95% confidence intervals is basically you just take the average and you add 2 standard errors of the mean. So what that means is when I take 1.35 and I divide it by the square root of 50, I get a value here. And I add and subtract that value to the average, or to the mean. And that's what's actually going to give you your value for your 95% confidence intervals. And what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and in the next video I'm going to calculate both of those and show you how to do both standard error of the mean and the 95% confidence interval. That way you can check your work. And I'll do that really soon. That'll be in the next video I upload in just a minute.